Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Chris Burris. I am the co-chair of the Library Lecture Series. I'd like to thank all of you for coming out on this busy first day of classes to attend today's program. And I'd like to introduce our speaker for today, Ms. Fannézha Ford. Fannézha is a senior communication major and dance minor from Knightdale, North Carolina. She is the daughter of the late Jake Ford and Dianthea Ford Key. Fannézha is highly active on campus, serving as an ambassador in admissions, resident advisor, and circulation desk assistant here at ZSR, just to name a few things of what she does. But she does much more than that. I see her just about everywhere I go. Fannézha would like to thank Dr. Von Berg for the nomination and the Martin Luther King Jr. Committee for the recognition. She would also like to thank all of you for coming today and for ZSR for this opportunity to speak before all of you today. So without further ado, please welcome the 2011 Martin Luther King Building the Dream Award winner, Ms. Fannézha Ford.
I'll use the mic. But I want to say thank you, Chris, and just begin. When we think of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we think about his character. And we reflect on his morals, his values, and his legacy and how it has transformed this world. These moments of reflection are significant in acknowledging how far we've come from the civil rights movement and how much more we can do to continue his dream. Today, I will tell you a little bit about my own personal journey to standing here before you, and I will speak a little bit more about education and service, which are the two things that I value the most. It is my hope that you all will leave here inspired to reflect on your own personal journeys, utilize your positions here at the university for the betterment of others, and to encourage others to do the same. So it is said that in the end, you start to think about the beginning, and being that I am a senior, this is the moment. It is amazing to see that I actually started at Baylor School. That was my first time that I decided to pursue something different in my life, and that was when I was 16 years old. My family, no one in my family had ever went to boarding school before, so for me, I thought that this would be a great new adventure. And Baylor is much like Wake Forest. It is a private school, and it actually went through a lot of transformations over its time. It at first was a boys' preparatory school, then it became a military school in the early 1900s, and then in 1985, they introduced their first class of women. So let's just say 20 years later, here I am. But when I think about education, I think about my parents because I was very blessed to have parents that were educated and also were educators at the collegiate level. My mother received her bachelor's in business administration with a concentration in accounting at Fayetteville State University, which is a historically black college, and received her master's degree in public affairs at Northern Illinois University. My father received his bachelor's in physical education at Maryland State University, which is now known as University of Maryland Eastern Shore, and his master's at Indiana University. Not many children are fortunate enough to have parents like mine who knew the value of education and wanted the best for me. And so they made the financial sacrifices to send me to such a beautiful school. But it was there that I also learned about the food insecurity in Tennessee. And that was actually really devastating to learn that 20% of school children in Tennessee lived in poverty, and 21% lived in households that were considered food insecure. So these school children received different opportunities like free lunch or reduced lunch, but one thing that they didn't have on the weekends was food. So what a group of my friends and I at Baylor did is we decided to form a group to work with Saks Packs program with the Chattanooga Food Bank. And this program was designed to provide children with child-friendly products that were easy to open so that they could feed themselves on the weekends. And the teachers at these schools would put these sack packs in their backpacks during recess so that would ensure discretion. Our small group, sometimes 8 to 10 students, and our professor, English professor, his name was Chris Watkins, we would go on Saturdays and we could make about 1,300 sack packs together within a 2-hour span. But we weren't the only group that really saw this need. There were other middle schools and high schools that did the same thing. And because of those efforts, we were able to contribute sending 32 schools in the southeast and part of Tennessee and the northwest part of Georgia food for these children. Before leaving Baylor, I really wanted to make a mark because I'd only been there for 2 years, and it had made such a mark on me, knowing that I never had to experience this thing as a younger child, but I really wanted to make a difference. So we all had this thing called a senior capstone project, and my best friend and I, her name was Brianna Johnson, we decided that we wanted to throw a field day for the children that participated in the tutoring program. And so what we did was we partnered with Jolie Anderson, who is Director of Community Service at Baylor, and we came up with this point system where we could track the academic progress of the children and also their behavior progress, because it was really important to not only be involved and to do well in school, but to be on your best behavior. And we were able to come up with a day that was filled with so much fun and laughter. And it was on April 19th of 2008 that these children were bussed over to our school on our school buses, and they got to do things like face paint, water balloons. We had huge inflatables and different relay races. And I think one really big thing that we wanted to do was make sure that they knew how well they did. So we decided to create these different certificates for the children to be able to receive, and that's the last picture on the side. But what we really wanted to know and wanted them to know and understand was that you can and will be recognized for the great works that you do, even if you don't get that recognition at home. We all see you every single day, and you are not invisible. And the biggest thing about that day was seeing the other teachers who were chaperoning and everyone in there so proud to see their children happy that they were recognized. So this was our once in a lifetime thing. Similar here to Wake, we do a lot of different things in the community, from Stop Hunger Now, which was an international hunger relief agency that distributes food and other life-saving aid to children across the world, to Wake Forest, which is just helping out our neighborhoods with keeping their neighborhood clean. It's a way that we show how we appreciate the people that are around us and for us. But when you look at Wake Forest, I can honestly say it is a cornerstone for ordinary students doing extraordinary things. And when I think about that, I really think about Janelle Somerville, who was one of our fellow dancers here at Wake. And she created this program called Wake Up. It stemmed from her summer research in Kamende and Kijabi, Kenya. It was there that she witnessed immense suffering, tragic poverty, and enormous strength within the people in Kenya. And what she wanted to do when she returned to Wake Forest was to create a program, or an organization rather, that would make a difference in Kenya, but still make an impact from Wake Forest. So this organization raised funds and awareness about Kenya Kids Can, which feeds 20,000 children a day. And this program provides meals for Kenyan school children for just $2.50 per month. Her little slogan was, "This is less than a latte." And if you know anything about Wake Forest, lattes are very important. So what happened was there was a final event at the end of the week which showcased live performances from Plead the Fifth, Cairo, dance company members, and photography that was taken while Janelle was conducting the research. And the $6,000 goal was exceeded by $3,000. This translated to feeding more than 100,000 children. And it all started with one young lady who had a vision to inform her peers that for simply less than one latte, you could make a difference in a child's life. So Janelle is not just one or the only, but she's one of many people who utilize their resources as students for a greater cause every day. And I can say that I saw this firsthand when I decided to study in India this past summer with Dr. Mitra in the communication department. And I had an opportunity to meet so many different people. Dr. Mitra made sure that we set up a time at the public school, one of the public schools, which is called Delhi Public School in Calcutta. That's the old capital. And we were able to meet the principal, which was one of his old friends. And we met the school children. We met with council members, and they held a special assembly, and we got to talk about things like transitioning into college, what it means to study in the United States, the kind of well-rounded students that a place like Wake Forest is looking for. And it was amazing to me to see that education is not only embraced the way that it is here in the United States, but these kids are just like me, or maybe even more ambitious than me and my peers. And it's really great to know, or refreshing I should say, to know that this kind of hunger for education still exists even halfway across the world, 9,000 miles away. But what was really unique was that when we ended up in Leh, we met up with these three young ladies, which had attended the trip the year before with Dr. Mitra. It's Rachel Handel, Kendall Hack, and Carrie Stokes. They all saw an opportunity in Leh the year prior to study and conduct research for Dr. Mitra when it came to the school system there. As you can see, Leh, this is a picture at the bottom of Leh. It is beyond gorgeous. It is located in the Himalayas. And just to give you a brief, just to tell you briefly, it is remote from any other part of India. So the resources that they have there are very slim, and it is unfortunate that they don't have as many resources as they need in order to have proper education. Unfortunately, the students there are not prepared to pass the exams that are given to all of the students across the Indian subcontinent. So what Kendall, Carrie, and Rachel wanted to do was they wanted to conduct interviews and surveys and see where they can identify the strengths and weaknesses in the programs there and see where the school policies could be improved, and hopefully look forward to an opportunity to having a service trip in Leh that will mutually benefit Wake Forest students and the students in Leh, the epitome of programmatisate. So that's something that they really will look forward to happening in the future. But again, this is something where three students who hadn't met before decided to embark on a journey that was in a non-traditional location, and they ended up potentially having something that would really be another cornerstone for Wake Forest. Well, let's just say that I want to keep my things on the home front. So when I look at different opportunities, especially here in our community, I looked at the opportunity to partner with Winston-Salem State University, being that both of my parents attended historically black colleges and universities, and I guess you could say I was raised on a historically black college and university campus. And I found out that one group that has a motto of culture for service and service for humanity was Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. To give you a brief history about Phi Beta Sigma, it was founded at Howard University in Washington, D.C., January 9th of 1914 by three young African-American male students. The founders, A. Langston Taylor, Leonard F. Morse, and Charles I. Brown, wanted to organize a Greek letter fraternity that would truly exemplify the ideas of brotherhood, scholarship, and service. The Delta Alpha chapter was founded at Winston-Salem State University on April 24th of 1932 by William R. Anderson, Rupert W. Bell, Theodore B. Hayes, Charles I. Martin, and Reuben L. Walker. And again, their motto is culture for service and service for humanity. I've served alongside these brothers for the past 3 years that I've been here. This is my 4th year, in different initiatives such as roadside cleanup for Adopt a Highway. And they have Reynolds Park, which is on the other side of Winston-Salem State. That's the road that they've adopted here in town. We've also done walks for causes such as multiple sclerosis, where we raise money and then we go and participate in the walks. And March of Dimes, which is for prenatal care. But one of their biggest initiatives is the Homeless Awareness Week. And this is an effort where the Sigmas go door to door in neighborhoods all over the city, and they dorm stoner both Wake Forest and Winston State campus to raise money, collect clothes, and canned goods for donating to various organizations here in town. And some of the past recipients of these donations were Crisis Control Ministry, the Food Bank, Project Hope, and Winston-Salem Rescue Mission. So the final event is always held on the Friday night of that week, and it's one of the coldest nights here in Winston-Salem. And what the brothers do along with the other volunteers is they decide to stand outside on the campus of Winston-Salem State at the clock tower. And they stand out there from 6 p.m. until 6 a.m. the next morning. There are various things that can happen, whether you're standing around talking, you can play music, you can do a lot of different things, but one thing that's really big is they build like a city of cardboard boxes, and people actually sleep in these cardboard boxes overnight. So this is truly a unique situation because it's a first-hand experience of what it is like to be homeless during a cold winter here in Winston-Salem. But what was really tragic about this, the first time I experienced this, was that I found out that the homeless count here in Winston-Salem, the first year I participated, was equivalent to half of our senior class. That's roughly 600 people at that time. So to think that 600 people had to endure those conditions day in and day out, especially in the winter, it was really heartbreaking for me. And I really wanted to get people involved here on campus because this is something that should not be ignored. We live on a very beautiful campus, and many of us have complaints about things like housing options, meal plans, and I understand nothing is perfect, but it's definitely nothing perfect about being homeless here. And we really should take a second look at being grateful for the opportunities that we are afforded just for simply being students here at Wake Forest. So I've used my different positions here on campus, such as resident advising and just being me around campus, I guess you could say, to show people that there are causes that stem outside of the many ones that we have on campus that are really great causes to support, and it's a great opportunity to partner with other students who are in the city just like us. So to me, Dr. King had a progressive dream that has proven to live on generation after generation. And I started working with the Sigmas on an individual basis, and it was something that was important to me because I wanted to embody what it meant to bridge the gap between the schools, Winston State and Wake Forest. But there are not just these two schools here. We also have Salem College, Forsyth Tech, and UNCSA. And this is really important to think about because all these schools are within a 10-minute radius of one another. And we all are well known across the country for different reasons. School of the Arts being an art conservatory that international students come to. Forsyth Tech being recognized by President Obama for the contributions of their students. Winston-Salem State being recognized as well, and the list goes on. But what I would like to do is encourage students here at Wake to either on an individual basis or even get a group of students to really consider reaching out to these different schools, because there is a greater impact that we can all make as we come together and partner with one another. And I think that that would be part of what Dr. King would think is a progressive dream of not only being able to work alongside each other within our classrooms here on our own campuses, but to be able to work with a private institution, a public institution, a conservatory. So that's how I believe we could keep his dream alive. Thank you. Y'all have any questions?
Fannézha, what's the sister group to that organization? Is it Zeta Ford?
Yes.
Is
Zeta
there
Ford.
not a chapter or what's the second?
There is a chapter. The Omega chapter is there. So
You didn't want to join that?
I am a person that stays independent, but I do enjoy my opportunities with the brothers because, again, their whole motto is the epitome of what we have here at school, pretty much out there.
know much about your position, your scholarship, or how did you get that? I heard someone nominated you for it, but I don't know much about it.
Oh, the nomination? Okay, the nomination came from she was Dr. Beasley at the time, but she got married and became Dr. Bomberg. It was actually really odd. One day in class, I only had her one semester, and that was last year. The communication major, she's a communications professor. She asked me to send her my information, and I think it was after I had announced to the class about the Homeless Awareness Week, and the presentation that day was by another group in the class, and so I wanted them to be informed that that same week they were having this initiative. And so from, I guess, just seeing me in class and seeing my resume, she decided to nominate me, and I felt very honored because, again, I hadn't known her for that long, but I guess she saw something in me. So, is there another hand?
What kind of service things do you have planned once you graduate, or do you know kind of what you want to do?
Oh, you talking about just postgraduate plans? Okay. My biggest thing would be to actually work with students when it comes to dance. Dance is one of those things that is often overlooked as an art form, unfortunately, in many different endeavors, especially when it comes to people who cannot afford private schooling like me. I was able to afford private studio when I was 2 years old, all the way up to the age of 12. So I would really hope to at least start an initiative at a university where we could partner with younger students and start to get them into the dance studio, and maybe even starting with 1 hour a week, 2 hours a week, and this would be something that I would want to happen in the inner cities. Because again, a lot of students haven't been blessed like I have to have parents to invest in me in many different ways, and especially when it comes to the humanities today, where corporate companies are cutting back on giving out scholarships and other funds just aren't making it happen nowadays. I really want to be able to make that kind of impact from my art perspective. Yes, ma'am.
Are you training students to come along and maintain your good work?
I would hope so. I would honestly say that I'm a person that likes to encourage people and inspire people to do things in their own way. So if anybody else behind me, like I remember a young lady actually decided to get involved with them from here as well as the year after me. Like, to me, it's all about personal choice, but I would hope that it wouldn't just be at the student level, but that administration and faculty members would also consider partnering with these other schools, because we have a lot to offer this city, and I think that we can do a better job at it doing it together.
Is there anyone in administration now who has something of that role?
I honestly have no idea. But I would hope if they were sitting here or possibly going to watch this online that they might think about it. Wait space. Thank you all for coming.